started. We are now live on YouTube.
Thank you.
So good morning, everyone. It's 10 o'clock. I know that many of you are now joining. Let's wait a couple of minutes because we know that some of us might be in the process of being admitted to the room. So give us a few minutes, couple of minutes, and then we start with our program. One more minute, we wait for, there's a few people in the waiting room. I suggest we start with our program. I know a few will be admitted along the first minutes of this introduction. But I think since we have a pretty dense agenda, it's worth to get going. So ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome to the first edition of the Horizon Cloud Summit 2020. It will be a couple of days, very intense, that will focus on the setting the scene about the next generation cloud computing for shaping the European digital future. My name is Monique Calisti. Some of you might know me. I'm the CEO of Martel Innovate, and I have the pleasure to guide you throughout the agenda this morning. A very dense agenda. But before entering into the details of our event, let me give you a little bit of a logistic insight. Let's make sure that you all know that this session will be entirely recorded and published on the H Clouds channel. So if you don't feel comfortable with that, mind what you say or what you might hear. All participants except the speakers and moderators will be muted by default. Otherwise, we risk to have a little bit of background noise. It's not that we don't want to hear from you. If you're not a speaker, please turn off your video. We do that because we hope, the platform won't crash because of too much load. Feel free to post your questions in the Zoom chat. We will try to pick them up and give you the opportunity to interact with our speakers in the various Q&A sessions. If you would like to speak, please raise your hand and wait for the moderator to give you the floor. And if there's technical issues, I hope not, but if you have any, please send an email at info@h-cloud.eu. Also, if you want to make noise and help us amplifying the outreach of today's activities, follow us on our Twitter account and use the H Cloud Summit hashtag. Okay, now let me give you a little bit of an overview about the speakers of the morning. We will have Dr. Federico Michele Facca, that is CTO of Martel Innovate and H Cloud Project Coordinator, welcoming and introducing into the more technical aspects related to those 2 days together. Then we will have from the European Commission, Head of Unit Cloud and Software, Pierre Chastanet, that will give us a keynote session about the European sovereignty in data and cloud. Then we will have an amazing panel, let me tell you, with high-level speakers with whom we will discuss a little bit the scene, setting the scene about next generation cloud computing in Europe. I will introduce them to you in more details when it comes the moment. Then we might try to have a little break. Let's see, we know that to be following online events is not always so easy. And finally, we'll have a plenary get together with Ana Juan Ferrer from Atos that will present the cloud computing research challenges and skills before then breaking for lunch and then continuing afterwards. What I would like to say before leaving the floor to my colleague Federico is that we appreciate very much you are with us today. We hope that you are all safe despite the crazy and dramatic boundary conditions. We feel that cloud, as all digital technologies, have a very important role to play nowadays to help our society, our citizens to stay connected to primary services like healthcare, like education, and you name it. So we're looking very much forward to those 2 days of lively and intense discussions. Now the floor is yours, Federico. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Monique. I will try to be very brief and coming up with the short introduction to Edge Cloud and also to welcome you to this Edge Cloud Summit. As Monique said, we are very pleased to have you here, and we hope this will be a chance to gather together and discuss interesting matters that will help us to shape the future of cloud computing in Europe. Let's start with the slides. So, I'm sure most of you recall these words from Ursula von der Leyen during her initial speech at the European Parliament. And I'm sure that when she presented herself to the Parliament as elected president, she didn't expect what was going to happen in 2020. And still, I mean, clearly we are living, as Monique mentioned, in quite complex times. And despite that, I think many good things are happening, and we will turn out stronger thanks to this crisis. And I'm mentioning few interesting things that happened so far in 2020 that I believe will make you feel positive as well. First of all, there was a great and it's still ongoing experiment around a federated high performance computing data center to compute novel drugs against COVID. And this is the biggest distributed experiment ever, and is an European experiment. And I think we should all be proud of that. It is also true that digitalization have been showing our resilience, and also somehow the pandemic enabled us to accelerate a bit the digitalization in Europe. And this turned, as a matter of fact, in a growth request for green computing services, and estimate are that this is going to grow in the next years, especially in Europe. It's also here where we have done many things related to space. We are sending now in these days a new satellite in space to monitor the sea level, to improve our fight against the climate change. And this is happening because also of digital technology and artificial intelligence. We are more and more improving what we can achieve thanks to such digital technologies. It is also here where we have seen many debate over social media and around in the world, promoting the importance of fighting for a greener earth and supporting research and activities against climate change. And in this, again, the digital services played a great role to share the message along, but also they turned out to have more social concern regarding the importance of sharing proper messages. In this picture, the European Commission was really quite active and laid out an incredible agenda trying to set different building blocks that will guide us toward the future, and especially with the data strategy that was published early this year in February. And of course, we are all here together to discuss about these matters. And I really hope that these days will be a nice chance to gather new insights on what we can do together thanks to digital services to create a better Europe. I invite all of you, if you have not done it yet, to download the green paper that we developed in the project that will be enriched with all the inputs we will receive during this event. And I leave the floor to Pierre Chastanet, and I invite all of you to enjoy the event.
Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Can you hear me properly?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Many thanks, Federico, for the introduction, and many thanks, Monique, for organizing this very important event for us, driven by the Edge Cloud project. Today is really an important milestone with the Edge Cloud Summit, and we have very strong expectation from all the participants to the summit to provide very valuable input and insights to help that key project move forward. The benefits of cloud are really clear to the European Commission. We have been working on this aspect for many years now, since the European strategy on cloud in 2012, and we have been keeping progressing our policies, addressing the different key barriers that are still preventing the good adoption and deployment of cloud technologies in Europe. More recently, the regulation on free flow of non-personal data was a key legislative milestone, which we really count is going to further support the good adoption of cloud. With this new commission, we have really entered into a new area of policies in which we're really trying to focus on the sovereign dimension of technology. We have seen that it is very important for Europe to master a number of key technologies, notably digital technologies, and cloud is definitely part of these key technologies. Indeed, cloud is really a foundation technology for any organization, public or private, to undertake digital transformation. This will unlock access for companies to data, as well as enabling technology and transformative technologies like artificial intelligence, big data analytics, or blockchain. These are really essential for the competitiveness of companies, including SMEs in Europe. So as I said, we have really reached a new moment in terms of policy development, which also meets a critical moment in terms of technological development in cloud, which is a shift towards the edge. This is a vision that our commissioner has been very vocal about, that we do expect that the development of edge computing is going to absorb more and more the data collection, but also the data processing much closer to the user. So as you can see, cloud for us really represent a foundation for European digital innovation, connecting different trends, the development of the Internet of Things, artificial intelligence, and big data. So we believe that for organization to move to the cloud, cloud first policies, as we call it, is really an absolute prerequisite to foster successful digital transformation in Europe. There is a triple objective that our cloud policies in Europe are trying to address. The first is that we must ensure that there is an affordable access to cloud services for our businesses, SMEs in particular, but also public organizations. So it means that contracts with cloud service providers should be made in a fair and transparent and competitive manner. The second key objective is that we want to ensure that cloud services are secured and can be trusted by the parties that are contracting such services. The third big objective is that cloud services should become highly energy efficient. This is where the two key policy objectives of the Commission at a very high level on green and digital are coming together. Cloud represents an important component of the energy consumption of the ICT sector, and we must push the cloud and data center sector to become best in class in terms of energy efficiency and environmental performance. It's only like this that moving to the cloud will be a sustainable option to support the development of the digital economy in the long run. What we see in terms of market development in Europe is that the market has consolidated at a rather unprecedented pace. You may recall, for those of you who contributed to the development of the European Cloud Strategy in 2012, that at that time, our worry was that the market was too fragmented, that there was a jungle of standards. Well, what we have seen, especially over the past couple of years, because the trend has accelerated, is that the market has very rapidly consolidated around a few large global actors. In Europe and in the rest of the world is really no different. And that market dominance of global hyperscaler can represent a worry in terms of having a competitive market for European companies to choose from. We also see a risk with the overwhelming dependence of Europe on foreign actors. Increasingly, we have industries across Europe and across sectors that are reporting to us trust issues. Indeed, the possibility through laws of foreign jurisdiction for intelligence authorities or court to have access to data stored in cloud operating in Europe is really an increasing worry from CIOs of both public and private sector. Thirdly, we see an increasing development of vendor lock-in phenomenon. This is something that we try to address with the free flow of non-personal data regulation, for which we asked the development of codes of conduct on data portability. But still, we fail to see the real effect of those code of conduct on the market. So there is, of course, a challenge with the hyperscale nature of the main cloud market participant. And this is inflated by the degree of vertical integration across the cloud stack that is concentrating even further the different services that can be offered on cloud. We also see this as a major risk to hinder innovation in the long run. So the Commission sees that we should be working around two key directions to address those issues and challenges. The first is that we should continue strengthening European standards. We have pretty good technical standards, but they are not always very well adopted or understood. And secondly, there are also non-technical standards, codes of conduct I mentioned in different areas, as well as certification mechanism. So Europe is really already the world-leading standard setters in terms of data protection. We have what is probably the most protective legislative framework in the world when it comes to data protection and cybersecurity. The second big area of development is investment to develop European digital services. So we see that these two trends on standard setting and investment should be pursued in parallel. So let me address briefly some key aspects of these two major areas of work for the Commission. You may recall in the European Data Strategy that was published at the beginning of this year that the Commission proposed to develop a European cloud rulebook. Such a rulebook will encompass the different rules that are relevant for the cloud sectors in Europe, and will make it clear both to providers and user industries and public administration what they should be expecting from cloud providers in Europe, and notably how this should be reflected in their cloud contract. Let me highlight a few of the key elements of what we expect to see in that rulebook, building on existing regulatory and self-regulatory work that the Commission has facilitated. So again, we don't want to reinvent the wheel, but we really want to bring a coherent and integrated picture of the rules that are applicable to European cloud service providers operating in the single market. So first of all, we should be clear about the applicable legislative framework. I mentioned GDPR, free flow of non-personal data, but there are also horizontal pieces of legislation that are sector specific. Very recently, the Commission has adopted a piece of legislation for the financial sector on digital operational resilience, which is addressing pretty well for that sector the outsourcing to third-party service provider, including cloud service provider. We do expect that this sort of legislation on a sectoral basis that will address cloud is going to develop further. So again, we should make this clear in the European Cloud Rulebook and update as necessary the rulebook. On the self-regulatory side, this has been a key area of focus for the Commission over the past years. We have facilitated the development of codes of conduct on data protection, on data portability. There is a cloud certification scheme for the cybersecurity of cloud services that is currently in the pipeline of the European Cybersecurity Agency, ENISA. We have put forward code of conduct on energy efficiency of data centers. And more recently, we have started looking at how these different self-regulatory code of conduct and schemes should be reflected in standard contractual clauses. So it's something that we did in the past with service level agreement. More recently, we have started developing standard contractual clauses for the financial sector in close cooperation with European supervision authorities in that sector. Let me now look into the second big chapter of our intervention, which concerned the investment. Investment is really at the heart of European cloud policies, notably when it comes to developing further European capacities in this area. The Commission has reached an important milestone a couple of weeks ago with Parliament and Council giving us the final budget envelope for the multi-annual financial framework for the coming 7 years. Within this multi-annual financial framework, there are a number of key programs pertaining to digital, and we have really prepared very hard to make sure that we will be able to use these different programs in the digital sphere, specifically for the cloud sector. So let me explain shortly our intervention in these different programs. The first one will be the Connecting Europe Facility 2 program. CEF2 will be used to interconnect infrastructures that are spread across different member states. So this is one of the limitations we see currently. There are very vivid players at national level in the cloud sphere, but they have difficulties to get market access across borders. So by enabling their interconnection across Europe, we believe that this will facilitate cross-border access. We will use the Digital Europe program to do the same thing, but at service level. As you could understand from my words on standards, we still have problems of interoperability across Europe, and it's important that we can deploy at large scale middleware that will facilitate this interoperability across heterogeneous cloud services. DEP will also be used to deploy marketplaces at European level that will boost the visibility of cloud services that are meeting the condition of the European Cloud Rulebook. Last program I wanted to mention is the Resilience and Recovery Fund. Federico very rightfully quoted President von der Leyen, and I'm sure you've heard in the State of the Union speech her mention that she wanted to spend 20% of the Resilience and Recovery Fund into digital. And we do expect that investment in cloud will capture a significant portion of these funds. Just yesterday, the European Commission has published guidance on how member states should address cloud computing in their proposal for their plans of using the Resilience and Recovery Fund. So you can find this guidance on cloud. It's called Scale Up Module, where the Commission is detailing how we expect member states to use the RRF to scale up their cloud capacities as well as their microelectronics capacities. So all this investment will really give us a great opportunity for Europe to leapfrog in terms of cloud. So it's absolutely not the idea that we will rebuild a European Amazon or European Microsoft as we sometimes hear. The idea is to invest into innovative technologies that currently do not exist in the market. And that will drive the competitiveness of Europe in the future. Some of the key promising areas that we see in that respect include developing services at the edge and integrating this with more centralized cloud capacities. So cloud to edge should be an integral part of our investment. then we should interconnect the capacities that exist and that are currently fragmented in Europe in order to create a European cloud federation. In that respect, we see the work that Gaia X is doing as extremely relevant for that purpose. Last week, Gaia X at the 2 days summit, they are gathering over 180 participants, mostly from industry, but also from the public sector. And they are mobilizing both European cloud service providers as well as user industries. So it's not just a technological push for cloud, but it's also trying to integrate that cloud supply with European demand across different industries in Europe. Gaia X is expected to work on interoperability aspect, and we see this as a key enabler to facilitate the integration of different cloud services across the EU in order to gradually build a European cloud federation. Finally, our investment should also be geared towards sector-specific application. The one-size-fits-all approach of cloud services that has prevailed so far will not work in the future. We see emerging demand in the health sector, in industry 4.0, manufacturing at large, in the connected automated driving, in smart grids, in health and medical application that traditional cloud services will not be able to meet. There is really a need to develop and scale up at European level cloud services that will meet the specific demand of those individual sectors. To make sure that all different actors and funding instruments will go in the same coordinated direction, Commissioner Breton has proposed to launch a European Alliance for Industrial Data and Clouds before the end of this year. So this European Alliance is going to be a soft instrument that will help us to coordinate the different parties, both the member state and industrial actors, in order to implement this different investment and cooperate with other initiatives such as Gaia X, as well as other member state national cloud initiatives. Finally, the last word that I would like to mention is the importance of the interaction between cloud development and the development of common European data spaces. We see that there is a real need for user industries to cooperate, foster data sharing within their sector in order to develop vivid and innovative ecosystem around data. The Commission is going to adopt in the next coming days or weeks a legislative proposal on the governance of common European data spaces. We see again cloud as a key enablers for the future development of those common European data spaces. So we have very strong expectation, as you see from Edge Cloud. We really do expect that the input that this coordination and support action is going to provide coordinated input towards these two streams of work on technical standards, delivering a technical roadmap for cloud in Europe, as well as helping us to better understand how we should refine our investment plans in the different programs that I mentioned. So many thanks for your attention, and really looking forward to these two intensive days of exchange among the participants to the Edge Cloud Summit. Many thanks for your attention, and looking forward to the upcoming panel. Many thanks.
Thank you very much, Pierre. Thank you very much also to Federico. Now I guess you will see my screen. I hope you see my screen. Can you confirm?
Yes, all good, Monique.
Great. Okay, so now it's my pleasure to welcome on stage, our virtual stage, our cloud stage, an amazing set of speakers. I'm not quite sure one of them is with us. Let's see, let be surprised. I will start with the ones I've seen are online. We have Andreas Weiss from Eurocloud Deutschland that is also representing the Gaia X initiative. Good morning, Andreas. We have Ana Juan Ferrer from Atos. Good morning, Ana. Then we have Gianluca Granero from Qubit, a very dynamic and interesting SMEs based in Italy. Then we have Matt McNeil from Google. Good morning, Matt. Then I don't know if Clayton Bartolo from the minister in Malta is with us or not.
It doesn't look like it, Monique, unfortunately.
Doesn't look like. We had, I mean, in the government, there were late changes in Malta in the last couple of days. So this is why he might not attend. Then we have Pierre Chastanet from the European Commission that we just heard. Then we have Alain Fiocco from OVH Cloud. Good morning, Alain. And then we have Dr. Julie Delamar from T-Systems Deutsche Telekom that will be with us. So as you see, an amazing panel. Now we have 1 hour time. I will try to moderate and make sure that we voice everybody and also that we can pick up some of the questions from the audience. But the idea now is that each of my speakers, of our speakers, will introduce itself a few minutes to just say who you are, what you do within the European computing scene in Europe. Andreas, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Monique, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I represent ECO, the Association of the Internet Industry, founded back in 1995, and further on Eurocloud Germany associated with ECO. And what happened with the Internet during the last 25 years is quite amazing. And the use of the Internet is firmly integrated in a wide range of areas of life and business. And the recent development shows that stable and resilient digital infrastructures and services are of great importance. So this leads me to the key question of this session: to shape the digital transformation in Europe and the role of cloud computing. I would like to outline 3 key areas, which is sovereignty, which is resilience, and third, sustainability. Some of you already heard about Gaia X, and I would like to provide a brief positioning. The original goal of Gaia X is the conception of a federated data infrastructure with a scope on data sovereignty and data availability based on European standards and values. As a key objective, Gaia X should promote innovation in Europe. And with Gaia X, we certainly address the 2 first areas of sovereignty and resilience. Now, taking the recent joint declaration, as mentioned by Pierre, of the member states for EU Cloud Federation into account, sustainability can be addressed as well with appropriate design of important projects of common European interest, so-called IPCEI. And following the speeches so far, I think we are very aligned on this topic. In this sense, we need to expand our high-performance computing capacities and need to make the resources available mainly for the startups, for the SMEs and platform consortia. Beside this, we should foster core AI services, let me say similar to GPT-3 as part of the OpenAI activity, BI engines, and to realize the potentials of artificial intelligence accompanied with low-code platforms for easy use of such services. And the potential for using digital technologies that are powered by the internet, cloud services, and data spaces generally holds far-reaching economic opportunities. And we see ourselves as being responsible for the design of ecosystems for data infrastructure. And tomorrow I will provide you a deep dive into Gaia X with all the surrounding considerations for Gaia X. And so far, thank you for your attention and looking forward for the discussion.
Thank you very much, Andreas. Anna, the floor is yours.
Sure. So I am Ana Juan. I work for Atos, where I am the domain leader for hybrid cloud, and my background is on research. So with regards to Atos' position in cloud and digitalization, I think that as we have heard before, we all agree that cloud computing, it is an essential block for digitalization. And from all reports, we get that the Europe is and has been lagging behind for the adoption of clouds, and that still the concerns about interoperability, adherence to legislation, compliance, and data protection are perceived as obstacles to wide and healthy adoption of cloud technologies. And this is the reason why we consider so important the Gaia X initiative and the support that the European Commission is giving to it. First, because we think that from user perspective, all the Gaia X development for data spaces and the possibilities this bring to create novel business models in two-sided markets or simply by exploiting the available data, it can act as the trigger to foster the overall adoption of cloud by giving a clear business driver to it. But also on the provider's perspective, the value that Gaia X has to aggregate communities of users around Europe, it can create the necessary business motivation for the providers of all sizes, but also the hyperscalers to adopt all the wide set of standards that have been around for many years now. And this way be able, altogether the cloud market in Europe, to be able to create an European cloud market in which freedom of choice prevails and everything is done according to legal compliance, both sectorial and general for the public. And in order to close the cycle, as Pierre has indicated, we think also from the industrial perspective that in order to enforce the European competitiveness, it is really of interest that these developers not only focus on cloud technologies, which are very important, but also in the complete compute continuum from the edge to the cloud. And this is important of course, for Gaia X, because technically it is essential for many of the data spaces to create direct links with the IoT ecosystems that generate the data by employing the edge technologies. But also because while cloud it is a consolidated market, edge is really incipient. And we are starting to see commercial offerings from hyperscalers for telecom operators, such as mobile edge computing, that I think they could bring the same kind of concerns with regards to data sovereignty we saw for cloud adoption some years ago, and bring this to the 5G deployments. And the telco networks today are critical infrastructure, so we could face some risk on the technological developments in Europe. But also in addition to this, because today investments at edge level, specifically focusing on areas that are not yet so well developed in the market, such as peer-to-peer edge or edge AI development, can really bring a clear competitive advantage to the European technology providers. And we think this is quite important for the future in Europe for cloud technologies.
Thank you, Anna. Right on time. Now the floor goes to Gianluca.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, I'm Gianluca Ivanero. I'm from Cabit. I've joined the company a while ago, and we are trying to leverage the edge at its maximum possibility. We are in exactly historical moment where computational power and the penetration connectivity is really the right moment where we can take the maximum out of it. So we started with cloud storage, which is actually my personal background, but that's just a starting point to leverage the edge. It's been mentioned by Anna herself a few seconds ago and during the keynote. That's the moment where we have the computational power there, we have the connectivity, And that's where the big US giants do not have an unfair competitive advantage as compared to Europe. So that's an area where we can really make a difference, and we do not have steps to make to compete with them. We just can be at our best. If we add on top of this our much more perceived perception of privacy, which is becoming basically for us a basic right, we can really make a difference on this for the companies. For small companies or big companies, the European company has some certain needs that's not completely been addressed by the cloud giants, and the one fit for all approach that we mentioned before is not really working. So we're keen to have Gaia X as a train that can lead us to spread the European cloud around. That's it.
Thanks a lot, Gianluca. I was taking notes because you touched a couple of points that I would like to come back afterwards altogether. And now let's hear what Mark McNeil from Google can tell us today.
Thanks, Monique. It's really great to be here today to support sort of the agenda for digital transformation in Europe. I'm here as a founding member of Google Cloud, really to support this initiative. Google Cloud's a relatively recent offering, both in the market and actually within Google. And really at the heart of what we're doing is a unique approach, we think, to our customers and to our partners, as really being the only provider offering a sort of a new, genuine, and open multi-cloud approach, which is really central to our way forward when we look at this issue of digital sovereignty. And you know, as the previous speakers were saying, right away from the core to the edge. Our approach over the last year is really to be deepening our own understanding and listening to understand the future of digital sovereignty in Europe. And it's been one really of continuously approaching and engaging with European customers and policymakers over the last couple of years, and then thinking about how we translate their emerging needs into new technologies and solutions which meet those needs. Obviously, the potential of cloud as an accelerator for business is being recognized by all organizations, large and small, all over the world. And, you know, for example, enabling small business in Europe to gain global reach is something we see happening often within the customers that we work with. We definitely see cloud as a platform for innovation, and you know, when you look at some of what the customers are doing on top of these services, that's really where the sort of the ecosystem comes together. You see this, for example, with cloud, which is providing really a platform and a gateway for the development of AI and machine learning across all industries in Europe. Europe, I think, really has identified digital as one of the major ways to become more competitive over the coming decades. And of course, things like COVID have really accelerated the demand for cloud services in that context. Now, we really do support what the EU is doing here, and the EU's proposed investments in cloud technologies and infrastructures to underpin the implementation of the data strategy, which is central really to that realization of that potential, and especially for the building of common data spaces under that regulated environment. We really believe that these ecosystems should be open to all market players, provided that they meet the stringent data protection and security requirements, which have been outlined in the existing European regulation. And I think that's a really important point for us, is to bring the best into Europe as well. When you look at the data as a part of this, and especially the EU's focus on it, we're really seeing both small and large companies are able to harness the power of data through the new generation of cloud services which operate locally here within Europe. And for example, you know, that is something that we've done, is to bring those technologies to the European geography. And this has really accelerated their impact and their reach of European companies globally. We really believe that it's important to ensure there's an open cloud that's anchored on open source and open data. A great example of that is, so for the data which was provided as part of the Sentinel-2 program by the European Space Agency, the Earth Observation Program. I think it's one of the most comprehensive programs ever created, covering land and ocean and atmosphere. And because of the free and open data policy of the European Commission and the European Space Agency, we've been able to make this data set far more available to all of our customers through our Google's public cloud data program. And that's where we really see the advantages coming together of this approach. When we think about our approach to this, what's really shaping up is a vision based on multi-cloud and open source against lock-in, which I think is a really important part of that. This really enables us to activate ecosystems and partnerships which are central to this approach. And some of the most latest and most important partnerships with European technology players, such as with Atos and OVH, Telecom Italia or T-Systems. And a great example of that is the partnership with OVH Cloud, where Google Cloud and OVH announced an innovative and strategic partnership to really jointly build a trusted cloud solution in Europe based on this open source technology stack, and allows customers to really fully experience the benefits of an open cloud and a trusted cloud. And I think that word trust is one I really want to finish with, is this is a top priority for us at Google Cloud. It's the basis of our engagement, and that comes to everything that we do, so that customers and enterprises can rely on both the security and trust of our services. And just to be crystal clear about our commitment to this and ensuring our customers are in charge of their data, Google will only use customer data in accordance with customer instructions under their cloud contract and for no other purpose, not for advertising, not for anything else. There's a lot of confusion about that, and I think it's really important to be transparent. Transparency is how trust is created, and we invest a lot in that, undergoing independent third-party audits. We are following through with obtaining our certifications and meeting the standards and verifying that the practices match our commitments with those industry standards. When we started Google Cloud, we started it to serve our customers and meet their needs. And today, the needs of digital sovereignty in Europe are really leading the world in thought leadership. And we're committed to contributing as much as we can to these developments.
Thank you so much. Very dense intervention. We had a little bit of an echo, so please mute your mics, people that are not muting. Matt, may I ask you to mute? Thank you. So now I will pass the floor to Pierre, and then to Alain, and then to Jury.
Okay, many thanks, Monique. And I will be pretty short because I had a long intervention already. I just would like to emphasize on a few elements also in view of the previous panelists' intervention. So the trend towards the edge is really indeed a major opportunity for Europe to seize. But we see that there's not just one flavor of edge. There are really different business models that will compete, which is very healthy, because this is this sort of competition that we would like to stimulate in order to avoid a very concentrated market. Conversely, we would like to see that there is really a seamless interoperability between the different solutions that will emerge on the market. Especially from a user point of view, we see that users should really be able to port their data, their applications, their workloads completely seamlessly from one provider to the other, depending on their real-time needs. The second element I want to mention is that Europe has all is required in order to be successful on this new development in cloud to edge. We are having a strong microelectronics industry. We still have vivid European cloud service providers, but we really need to develop the right cooperation mechanism in order to develop new innovative solutions that are demanded by user industry. The last point I want to highlight is the fact that Europe is extremely open in terms of its cloud market. We remain open to any actors, either European grown or coming from third countries. However, we want that the European market is a competitive market, meaning that the same rules should apply to everybody. And I think this is very important if we want to have a fairness and transparency on the European cloud market. If we want user industries to trust cloud service provider and undertake that digital transformation, it's really important to have a fair and competitive market. So many thanks for this, and looking forward to further discussion on these aspects.
Thank you, merci. Thank you, Pierre. I was about to switch language. So now it's Alain. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Hi, Alain Fiocco. So I'm the CTO for VH Cloud. As some of you may know, we are the the largest, and I'm going to put that in quotes because still small compared to the giants, but the largest cloud providers in Europe. Well, actually, I should say the largest European cloud provider. Clearly in terms of scale and the cloud services portfolio, we positioning ourselves clearly as a valid competitors against those giants. And sometimes partnering with, in terms of technologies, but from a cloud market and cloud service perspective, this is clearly what we are going after. We are very much for the fair and the competitive market at the European level. And I got myself directly involved in GaiaX, and I have people in my team actually directly involved in GaiaX working groups, because I do believe that the idea of creating a federation of services in Europe where people, customers have the choice to select the right services in the right place, framed with the right, terms and conditions and legal jurisdictions and those kind of things in a fully transparent way, in a machine-readable way, means integrated into APIs, is the only way we can create a vivid and wealthy ecosystem of services for the cloud market in Europe. And this is true for pretty much every industry across the board. So the GaiaX initiative, I think, is on the right track at defining the technical framework on how cloud services can come in, describe themselves, make sure that a customer can federate those services into a single federation of identity, so that they can consume the right services, the right certification with the right price in the right place for their needs. And so I'm very, very happy with the way things are evolving right now. We do have some draft specifications. We do have reference implementations for some of the key components. And so I'm really hopeful that in the coming months, we're going to see real services turning up into the GaiaX federations. And then that will provide a framework for people to innovate and people to come and build marketplaces in a way on top of those services without having to compromise any of the value that we have as European cloud providers. This is it for me.
Monique, you're muted.
So sorry. Now we have our last speaker. Please, the floor is yours.
Yes. Can you hear me? It's
Sorry,
Yuri de Lamar.
Yeah.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes, we can hear Julie. Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
don't know how to pronounce your name. I said Julie, but correct me if I'm wrong.
Perfect. So thank you for the invitation. For me also, very privileged to participate in this conference. And yes, Yuri de Lamar, I'm at T-Systems Deutsche Telekom, responsible since more than 10 years for international research and space programs. And also myself with a research background from nuclear physics. So for us, research and industry, both are, and public sector are very important sectors as a company that we support with our services. And we have been very happy to be able to participate over the last 10 years in various European projects like Helix Nebula, Indigo Data Cloud, and the European Copernicus program, where we are providing the satellite data on behalf of ESA EU to the world to use these data for their different applications. And it's very good, actually, to see for us that the things we develop in those European programs, that they have really become building blocks of the European Open Science Cloud, of other initiatives, and also now that we have become a founding member of Gaia X, we see a new dimension coming up. And for us as well, it is very important always in these programs that we were able to push for open standards and data privacy. To mention just a few, like OpenStack Kubernetes, as very important elements of that. But not only to have these standards, I think what we have seen in the programs is also a paradigm shift, over these 10 years. We used to have systems managing the users, and I think now with cloud computing, we have started to understand that users will be managing the systems now and in future. And to be able to do that, it's very important that these standards become very easy to use, easy to understand, and easy to learn, not only for experts, so that also in our company, we have a very intense training and certification program, basically for all employees, to really know how technology can be used to solve everyday's business challenges going forward. So if we look what happened over the years, we see that this has a good adoption in various research organizations, in some areas of industry, but also that there's, of course, in other parts of industry, a very slow uptake. That we definitely believe that we can accelerate with programs like Gaia X. Alain has already mentioned some of the very important elements like the sovereignty, data and technology sovereignty that we want to bring forward with Gaia X. We see that as soon as this becomes established technology that users can trust to use, also the actions that are defined in programs like Digital Europe, the actions towards more sector-specific developments or data space for domains like healthcare, manufacturing, Industry 4.0. I think these will be much easier to achieve if we have this Gaia X foundation in cloud computing technology. But there are also challenges, and maybe that's good to start later the discussion. The challenges that we see are manifold. There are still, I think, some challenges, especially if we think of long-term data access and storage. There are challenges in linking industry and science, especially how to focus the action and activity on the socio-economic challenges that we face today. I think COVID has been a very nice example how it was possible to really focus a whole community on one problem within months and achieve astonishing results. I hope we can learn from this and also use it in other areas more. But there's also a challenge in sustainability and climate action, as we know. And that's I think is a problem that we face in Europe with many traditional small data centers that we have as an infrastructure. And I think it is very urgent that we find methods how to drive this and change it into energy efficient use of cloud systems that we know. And there's been a recent EU study published on this, on cloud computing energy efficiency, that clearly demonstrates how this can help our climate action. And I think all of us experts know that every idle minute of a server in a data center is not good for our carbon footprint, because that server still needs energy. And the last part of the challenge, I would say, is how to also more rapidly change the public sector in making use of these technologies. I think we definitely have to look at the funding instruments. There is a lot of discussion already around them, and the European Commission is doing some good work. But it's also an issue in the member states. How do we make sure that in the member states funding instruments go away from supporting the traditional hardware and software procurements and stimulate and reward the best practices, the technology, the cloud computing technology that we have to use it, and make sure that this becomes a success and not only a good technology. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Very dense interventions. Of course, would love to be able to give more space to each of you, because there's many aspects that we could be discussing for hours. And now I try to pick up a few points that out of your interventions, and I also have looked a little bit at the questions. Of course, one of the most recurring questions is for you, Pierre, and for the European Commission. Even though we know you might not have a precise answer, one of the main recurring questions, it's about time for funding, time for the next calls from Horizon Europe, Digital Europe, CF, and CEF2. When can we approximately expect that these new calls will be published by the European Commission?
Yeah, so of course the Commission was really very eager to hear back from Parliament and Council the final budget envelope that we were benefiting from. So as this was finalized a couple of weeks ago, now Commission is working extremely hard to finalize the negotiation on the different legislative proposal underlying these programs. So time is very short. The delay was not coming from the Commission side. So we're really working day and night to finalize the legislative adoption and then publish the work program. Nevertheless, because of the delay that has been incurred, I must be frank that very likely the work program will very likely only be published at the beginning of next year. So that's a bit against our initial expectation. We really wanted to have some sunrise calls published this year already, but it's now unlikely to be the case. Something important to mention in terms of change of gear, as many of colleagues in the audience have been participating in Horizon 2020. In the cloud sphere, you can expect that a lot more emphasis is going to be put on deployment, which is of a very different nature than research and innovation. You know, that was a criticism that in Horizon 2020, there was a gap between the time the research and innovation finishes and the time when there can be market take-up. So this valley of death, as some people were calling it. So the Commission has really come up with a new instrument to bridge that gap and really take innovative solutions that were matured under Horizon 2020 and now scale up their deployment via CEF2 and DEP.
Thank
so
you, Pierre. I think
really
so we can expect first calls probably to be published Q1 2021. That's the understanding, right? of course, this is an information for everyone on the H-Cloud portal, but also on our channels. We will relay the information as soon as available, so we will make sure we promote information on this front. Now, one of the things is accelerating deployments, of course, goes together with aggregating users, understanding demands, needs. And of course, now the next question naturally goes to Andreas, because I mean, we have heard Gaia X in the last few weeks everywhere. Also today, I heard several speakers mentioning they are in Gaia X, they are involved, but many people within the H-Cloud scene, or let's say in the research and innovation scene, are asking two kinds of questions. One is, how can we join Gaia X efforts? How can we contribute to the process? And the other one is, how concrete is Gaia X as a federation of cloud as of today? And what are the major milestones ahead? I know you will, Andreas, you will cover these aspects tomorrow, but I thought maybe if you can anticipate a few points today for the audience that is with us now.
Okay. So I assume we don't want to exceed the session for 2 days. So let me just try to summarize some key points around Gaia X. First of all, we have to differentiate between Gaia X as a formal association, which is currently in foundation in Brussels, and Gaia X as an ecosystem, which includes all the activities for a federated cloud, also the development of data spaces, and so on and so forth. It was a clear mandate that Gaia X is not intended to build up a new hyperscaler, but it brings all the players together. And thanks to OVH and German Telecom and everyone who's now participating, they have already their infrastructures in place. And we would like to respect also this edge point. So we need this decentralized approach, because we need to include all the facilities and the point of present also for all the various smart activities like smart mobility, smart home, and so on and so forth, smart cities. And this is really the challenge here, to keep the diversity and to include everyone into this concept. And therefore, we made the decision to aiming for an architecture of standards. So all the puzzle pieces are already there. It's more a matter of how to orchestrate them and how to bring them together. And always with a joint view on infrastructure layer and data ecosystem layer. And therefore, one of the principle is to expose the federation services. So to bring a core set of services as open source, to find an appropriate integration. And as I mentioned, one of the key objectives is data sovereignty. So we need to clarify how to keep data sovereignty across over multiple suppliers and in this decentralized approach. And also data availability, because we need availability in Europe, especially when we are targeting the smart services, AI, and so on. And therefore, we need a special means. And also, we talked about identity, and it's not just about personal identities, it's also around process identities and system identities. So we have these 4 key pillars of the federation services: identity and trust over IP. We have a federated catalog to show those services which are in compliance with Gaia X, and therefore we have this policy and rules committee. And then we have the sovereign data exchange approach to support this promise, especially in the area of data spaces, that you're still the controller of the data, even if you share the data with third parties. And then the compliance aspect to monitor what's going on, and we have to take care about GDPR compliance as well as security. And Pierre also mentioned EU Cybersecurity Act. So these are all the things we have to put together. And now Federation Services has been started, has been kicked off as a project, as an open source project. I'm currently heading this initiative. And we will go from there. But what is really impressive, and I think this is also, Gaia X has been developed without any funding so far, and for 1 year. So we have more than 800 actors out of 500 companies who are working pro bono on this activity for the time being. And this is really where we really face the demand side. So all these people contributed into this activity because I think it makes sense, and we need to move forward, and we need to take care seriously what is the market demands. So these are all the things together to bring it together. But we shouldn't overwhelm the expectation on Gaia X. Gaia X cannot solve every problem in the digital space, but it's a good initiative and we are moving forward very fast.
Thanks, Andreas. Can we remind the audience when is your session tomorrow? When your speak is keynote opening tomorrow, right?
Similar at the same time. I have an overwhelmed schedule. Let me just check in advance.
So we'll post here in the chat. One of my colleagues maybe can help. We post the exact time at which you will get more information about Gaia X. Now, if you allow me, I would like to move to one point that Anna mentioned. I think it's a very good point. We are at a time where we need to aggregate users to enable a European cloud market. And I think this goes very much also close to some of the points touched by Alain and Gianluca. So my question is, to enable a real, let's say, secure, easily accessible and affordable cloud market in Europe, what are the main obstacles that exist nowadays? Can you give your viewpoint as big industry stakeholders on the scene, Anna?
I think that from technical perspective, there are not that many. It is what Andreas was saying. From a technical perspective, the pieces are there. What are there, I think, is still a lot of concerns on the aspects of the data privacy. Also, some sector-specific regulations that bring some specific setups that need to be taken into account. I don't think it avoids adoption of cloud, but it's important that these are taken into account. And there is the question of trust. And trust, it is, as we all know, something which is very subjective. And for this, I have the impression that all the efforts to be done by the providers in order to increase transparency and for sure, as a mechanism to foster this cloud can avoid many of the concerns that exist.
Thank you, Anna. You touched a very important point, and I saw Gianluca nodding. So I would like to hear from Gianluca also what is his experience. What about increasing trust, and how smaller companies, especially SMEs and small players that might not even have the skills in-house to install or make use of cloud solutions? So how do you deal with this kind of objective situation in Europe?
Yeah, 6 out of 10 SMEs still fear to approach cloud services because they do not have the correct perception of what they're buying and how much they can trust it. So, I mean, I was nodding because, I mean, Anna touched really very, very good points. So many of them understand the possibilities that cloud enables, but they don't see what they're buying. They feel their data, their application is in somebody's hands. They do not have control over it. So actually, WhatsApp made a big favor to everybody else. They've been pushing to billions of people that little string saying this conversation is encrypted end to end. So now encryption and privacy, it is becoming an end user topic. So the user must be correctly and transparently informed about what happens with data. If we must go to solutions that do not enable any eventual operator to access the data. So if you go fully encrypted with private keys, there's no way. So if we communicate this correctly, more and more SMEs can say, okay, I'm not buying a box, a server, which I used to buy for the last 20, 30 years, which was very well defined. I knew where my data was. Now you're buying a service, but this service must be confined in the perimeter that gives them some trust on who is my counterpart. So that's why a marketplace, which has been mentioned before in the beginning, where I can buy different services with some kind of stamp saying, hey, this is a company you can trust, company will be finding, the company will be answering you during your daylight, not the different time zone. So if you have a stupid invoice issue, they will give time to you and solve the problem. So those are the things that are not really technical, but they really go around the services that we need to provide to the companies.
Thank you, Gianluca. Actually, I'm picking up one question now from the audience, actually from James Lovegrove from Red Hat. Hi, James, nice to have you among us. James is asking, to what extent are the exciting open source, existing open source overlaps between EOSC and more recent Cloud Federation initiatives like Cloud Ally and GaiaX being synergized? I think the point here is that there are already a number of initiatives that have touched upon federation. In particular, EOSC has been working on federation of cloud resources in favor of research and innovation projects, initiatives. And indeed here, what happens when we hit not a technical problem, that is the point that Anna was making before, but rather a legislation problem. So how these federation, and here I would like to go to Jury for, because also this experience with Helix, Nebula, and other projects that had a cross-border view on this. How can we synergize initiatives, and how can we ensure that somehow we can overcome legislation and regulation problems across Europe?
Okay, thank you for the challenging question. I think we are really pushing exactly in this direction with GaiaX and also EOSC having a very similar character. Yeah, I think it's not only about identifying the gaps that we still might have in some of the technology. I mentioned already the issue of data. Yeah, we have still, I think, some things to discover how we can better manage data, distributed data, especially when we talk about edge to cloud computing. That is becoming a real challenge. But it's also about identity management. We have identity management established to connect services easily in cloud environments. But if you think further, what we are trying to achieve with GaiaX, establishing really trusted relationships between very different application components and infrastructure components, then of course it's also clear that there are still some further steps to develop. And the general approach, and that's why it's so important that we do that together in GaiaX, is not to have that technology at the end being the property of one company. Yeah, the drive is to make those new technologies available as part of open source, as part of leading distributions that are already on the market. So extend the things that we have, like extend OpenStack as the leading cloud community open source standard, extend Kubernetes as a platform tool for orchestration of services, and also develop further things like the Tosca standards that are there to design topologies and automate the deployment of very complex applications, basically by a menu guided interface for the user. So these are the things that we drive, and then of course contribute to those existing open source communities so that it can be used by the world, by everybody.
Thank you very much, Jury, for your overview on this. I would like to ask, I will come to Alain in a second, but I would like to ask in relation to that, Matt, a couple of questions. Matt, how Google Cloud and the Google Cloud presence already in the European market position itself with respect to GaiaX initiative?
Yeah, I just apologize if my camera's not working. I've just been having problems with it this morning, but
we trust
super. I mean, maybe I think just to sort of look at GaiaX, but also look at broadly what we're sort of seeing in the customer base. First of all, I think with regard to GaiaX, this strategy is something that we see is very much aligned with the way we're thinking about the world as well. You know, especially when you look at the lower half of the X in, you know, the Gaia X motif, you know, this supporting foundation, which really symbolizes these trusted cloud infrastructures. And that's where we see the representation of some of the services and tools that we've been bringing to our customers for some time, really to enable those innovations, which are then symbolized in the top half of the X. So I think that's where we see our an ability to really make a contribution. And I think this vision behind Gaia X is very close to our own philosophy of Google, particularly just what Yuri was saying about openness and the open source components. We've had a very long-term commitment to this. Things like Kubernetes are a great example for that, but you also see it in things like Apache Beam or TensorFlow on the AI side. And I think that's absolutely crucial. And then you've got these sort of the security, trust, the transparency, and this aspect of federation, which are all principles that underpin how we're thinking about sovereignty. So, you know, when we look at what we see as being the big challenges, you know, underpinning all of the conversations we're having are really a mix of probably three things. One is this kind of economic question. You know, customers are concerned with things like lock-in and things like concentration risk, which you know have really been, I think, the pattern for the last 20 or 30 years in technology. But then that gets mixed with two other things. One is the need for that security and the control of data. You know, customers are asking for that demand, strict privacy and security requirements, especially for their most sensitive data. And these sort of concerns around foreign government access to sensitive private public data, and the concerns of European companies, where they have reliance on these global providers for the sensitive workloads. And then that feeds in, I think, to the final, which is the sort of the geopolitical concerns. You know, geopolitical risk in the case of a sudden geopolitical event or threat, for example, things like sanctions, where a vendor may become unavailable for whatever reason. And you know, that's really the underlying principles of the problem space that we're really focused on. So, you know, Gaia X and the way that we're looking at the market really underpins these three things of this control of data, which is something we're thinking a heck of a lot about at the moment. And then this ability to be more transparent to inspection, so that even things like the changes of the underlying infrastructure and services become more visible, so that that trust is able to be built, as was being discussed earlier. And then finally, there's something that we think of, we call it sort of survivability, but how does a workload survive a geopolitical event for, you know, an extended period of time in the event they're unable to receive things like software updates from a provider? And I think those have to be addressed when we look at these really big questions. And that's really what comes under the concerns that we're seeing in the customers and policymakers, actually, about how these really get incorporated to provide that trusted foundation to a cloud.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Matt. At this concern, I think it would be interesting to hear also from Alain about how the trust, this notion of trust, can be enforced and is taken care of within the Gaia X context.
Yes, very much so. Actually, someone was saying that trust is built on transparency, right? And so one thing that from the very beginning in the Gaia X framework that we decided to do was to, when we do service description, that we are fully transparent about the service attributes. And those service attributes are not only technical attributes, they're also legal attributes, they're also operational attributes, they're also SLAs, they're also who is operating the data or the service, where are they located, where is the data located, where are the metadata located, what kind of legal framework do the operator have to obey to, and those kind of things. All of those have to be described in the service, machine readable through an API, which basically means that someone can come on top and decide through a graph database. Sorry, I'm talking technical here, but can build a graph of all the services available that comply to a certain set of requirements that the customers may have. And those requirements could be technical, they could be SLA, they could be legal, they could be contractual, and the graph will basically find the services that comply to those requirements. And this is what we talk about when we talk about transparency and building trust. This is what we've done in the reference implementation of GaiaX. There have been a couple of demos already of how those things work, and some of us in the participants of GaiaX and the funding member of GaiaX have actually committed to implement this framework so that people can start consuming our services this way, right? In this federation of services. In our case, we've actually done a few interesting things already. So we have an implementation. As I said, this is fully open source. I think it will be demoed again very soon. And there is a commitment that most of our infrastructure services, which are by design already compliant with the values that GaiaX is conveying, will be made available through that framework, through that API framework, so that people can start consuming them.
Thank you very much.
This is definitely becoming very real in the coming months.
Thank you very much. So we are unfortunately, I mean, the time is already over for us. I think we've heard and we've got a pretty dense indeed agenda. And relevant interventions. There's a couple of other questions. Some of them relate to GaiaX, so I would like to readdress these questions through the sessions tomorrow. One of the points that I would like to make is a little bit of a summary. I mean, clearly we're living very exciting times in terms of transitions towards a European cloud market that aims to be more open, more easily accessible, more affordable, more sustainable, and somehow an enabler of what is the vision of a European digital empowered society. There are several initiatives, and we have already several big market players that are not European, like Google, like Amazon, like IBM's, and you name it, in the European market. So it will be the case that there will be coexistence of different solutions, different technologies provided in the market. I think what is very important also to notice is that the European Commission, but also many national initiatives, are working for policies, regulations, and legislation to be there in order to ensure transparency, and therefore trust to be enforced, but also federation as a and transition, this smooth and possible transition from one provider to the other. Another key point mentioned by our speakers is that the technology is somehow ready. Services are there and are being offered, but there must be a shift also in the way smaller players and public authorities, today we didn't touch that much on that point, but also many public authorities are moving or will need to move to cloud solutions, which is not trivial, because they bring along a legacy infrastructure that it's far from being advanced and ready to plug into innovative technologies, but this is happening. And I think one very key point that emerged out of all the discussions is that we need to create momentum. We need to create a lively marketplace in Europe so that there will be a sort of an avalanche effect, and both on the supply and demand side, there will be a chance for a variety of stakeholders to join and come and benefit of each other's solutions. Now, I know we could say much more. Our speakers have done great. I would like to thank them all. Thank you very much. Merci, danke. Gracias. Now it's time for our plenary session to go on, and it's my pleasure now to leave the floor to Anna, that will take over for the next session. Of course, stay tuned. We will publish a video recorded cut of this session, and our speakers will be in touch with you, and they are in the our platform. You can connect to them directly. Thanks a lot, and the floor is yours, Anna.
Okay, do you want me to start now? Because according to the agenda, we have 10 minutes.
We are still on time, that's right. So let's take this 5 to 10 minutes break. I also need a break because I have an injured leg, so I need to move. So let's reconvene at in 6 minutes, actually, at 11:40.
Yes.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Everybody can stay in this room. So please, short break of 6 minutes, and then we will back in this session. And Anna will continue.
Thank you.
Anna, if you like, you can already start sharing your screen, please. Hey, Anna, could you please share your screen already? You're muted.
Sorry, no.
Don't worry. You want to start sharing your screen already? We still have a few minutes, but then people know they're in the right session. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is it all okay?
Yes, all okay. Thank you very much, Anna.
No, it's Monique.
Tell me, Monique.
Just wanted to say that I might, if you allow me a second before you start, to
Sure.
announce also what's going to happen after you.
Mm-hmm.
Then we anticipate what there will be the parallel sessions.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
If
So
you don't mind, it will take me less than a minute to just read the floor.
No problem. It's
okay,
perfectly fine. Let me mute. So
Okay, Monique, shall we continue?
Yep. Can you see me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Good morning, everyone. I see that there's people joining. Okay, just a couple of words before Anna will continue with her session. I just want to give you an insight on what's going to happen next. So Anna will be about 10 minutes on cloud computing research challenges and skills. Then we will have parallel sessions that you can easily join by just clicking join online session from the agenda online. I might drop it now here for you on the chat to everyone. So when you go to the agenda, you just have some button that allow you directly to join online session. So we will have 4 parallel sessions that will run from 11:50:55 to 12:50:55. So one is about the serious effect, winds of change in the provision of market relevant cloud services in Europe, organized by Blue Specs. Then we will have proactive and polymorphic adaptation of multi-cloud deployments, and the organizer is Melodic Morphemic Project. Then we have quality of service for edge to cloud continuum. The organizer is the Pledger Project. Then we have research challenges for scientific cloud, organized by the EGI Foundation. And then we will have a 10 minutes highlight of the day, closing section with Angel Giuliano from Across Limits, also a partner of the Horizon Cloud project. And then we will continue with a 1 hour of networking session. So now the floor is yours, Anna. I will disappear. Thanks a lot to everyone for staying with us today.
thank you very much, Monique. We follow down with the session on the research challenges. Do you hear me well, or there is too much noise? Is it okay? Okay, perfect. So give me a second. So the session for today, and what I'm going to present, it is work that we have been doing from the Future Cloud Cluster. About an update of the research roadmap that we have produced during this summer. For those of you that you are not familiar with the group, the Future Cloud Cluster, we are a group of nowadays 33 projects, research projects funded by the Cloud and Software Unit, the majority of us basically. That we collaborate punctually in order to provide our perspectives on future research challenges as inputs for upcoming work programs, and we contribute to diverse activities from the European Commission. And what I'm going to present you, it is a very brief summary of the work that we have been doing this summer in this context. So just give me a second. I have some difficulties. Can you see my screen?
Yes, Anna, we can see it, but it's not the full screen yet.
Yeah, sorry.
Presentation mode.
Now it's better,
yes.
isn't it? Mm-hmm. So we start our report that I will give you the link afterwards, and making a bit of context analysis on how we see cloud computing today. So as we have been discussing in the panel, we are all clear that cloud, it is an enabler for digitalization, that cloud has bring us the perspective of democratizing the computing. Before cloud computing, we were all the time perceiving the computing resources as something that was scarce and expensive, and cloud computing has bring us the illusion of having cheap and abundant computing resources. And nowadays we are consuming these services from cloud hyperscalers that give us the illusion that the resources are infinite. At the same time, as we have been discussing, there are a number of initiatives that are starting to develop the concept of federated cloud in order to facilitate interoperability and portability across providers. And from the research community, the research group, the group of projects in the cloud and software units, this area of federated cloud, it has been an area that for the last 10 years it has been very extensively researched, and in fact we find nowadays multiple realizations of federated cloud. We can find this in commercial products. Okay, they are very simplistic, we agree, but we start to see how commercial products have hybrid cloud solutions that permit a point-to-point connection between a private cloud and a public cloud. And also we have also larger setups in the scientific community, the European Science Cloud, the Federation, the AGI infrastructure, also Gaia X, as we have mentioned this morning, has this perspective of a brokerage. However, we think that still there are a number of research challenges that we need to address in order to fully develop this concept of federated cloud, which is the aspect of the aggregated quality of service across multiple cloud providers, the composable service level agreements, security mechanisms for data sharing, and also the consideration of the diversity and the heterogeneity at all levels. In addition to this, some technical developments or research development need to happen in order to easily facilitate vertical marketplaces. But I think that based on the discussion today, we all agree that also the adoption of standards that are around, and maybe the enrichment or improvement of some of the existing will facilitate new business opportunities, and this is to be done. But the aspect that we think that will really change how federated clouds will be transformed, it is edge computing. And edge computing not only taking the consideration of bringing a decentralized environment with a single device and for data processing close to the data sources as we understand today, but bringing it to a more hyper distribution of computing concept. We are seeing that more and more the IoT devices are not only simple sensors, they are because they need embedding a lot of computing capacity nowadays. And this is bringing all the computing continuum consideration, and this is a need that we start to see today, but also we realize that all the AI processing is going to increase the compute demand at the edge by several orders of magnitude. The way that we are seeing the market responding to this is by including new hardware architectures with heterogeneous processors, with GPUs, or these kind of things embedded into the IoT devices. But we foresee that it will be necessary to fully take advantage of all the computing available at the edge. And for this, we foresee that federated cloud will evolve into an environment in which we will have collaboration, self-organization, self-management, and self-healing, and more across many of heterogeneous compute resources that are present in all kinds of IoT devices, micro-edge data centers, edge resources as we know them today, but also private enterprise clouds and private public setups, cloud setups. So in order to make reality this vision, we have identified 13 research areas. And in these 13 research areas, we have the area of Federation of Clouds, which acts as a kind of framework for all the rest of activities. But also we identify research areas in the area of high performance and heterogeneous cloud services in aspects such as security mechanism across clouds, quality of service and SLAs, the aspect that it was discussed also before of the energy efficiency and sustainability, and a number of additional things. The research areas that we could identify, they all refer to the federated cloud concept, but also they can have more emphasis in multi-cloud or in edge computing or in the cloud continuum. So we have positioned them about with regards to the center of their focus. And for each one of these research areas, we have identified a number of research challenges that we think that are specifically important for next steps in this technology. And what we have also done, it is to provide our assessment on two important aspects with regards to these research challenges. One, it is the time for realization that we foresee, trying to assess in which at the time that it will require that these technologies or the results of these challenges, they are or in commercial setups or starting to be prototyped and so on. And also we have assessed which is our view on the business impact that these research challenges would have. For instance, you see that the areas that we see more long-term and with more business potential are maybe the more futuristic ones, which are all that refers to peer-to-peer edge. I am the one presenting this work today. I've been the editor of the document, and I am acting as the future cloud leader, but it is a joint effort between a number of us, and you have all the names of people that we have contributed to this document here in the table. In this slides, you will have the link to download the resource roadmap. And if you are interested in joining the cluster, in the website below, you have the mechanism. Basically, it is to, if you have a project that it is working, or you are an individual that you would like, you are interested in contributing, it is as simple as to contact me or Maria Chacali from the European Commission to get involved. And
Thank you.
This is it.
Thank you, Anna. Sorry to interrupt, but time is ticking. And what I would like to, well, first of all, thank you very much. Then I would like to remind everyone that you can find the direct links to join the various parallel sessions here in the Zoom group chat. So just click on them and you will be able to reach out the various sessions. Meanwhile, I would like to thank you. On my side, I will be on your side. From now on, I will be part of the audience and other colleagues will take over the moderation of the day. It was a pleasure to be with you, and thanks a lot to everyone. Enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you very much, Monique. We will close the session now. Please jump to the parallel sessions now. And